Hello, welcome to the Daily Grind here on Latte FM. It is Monday, the 24th of August, and Chelsea have just won at Fulham to complete game week 1 of the new Premier League season. And tonight we say goodbye, potentially, to Gabriel Martinelli, who is closing in on an exit from Arsenal to go and play for Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia. Delighted to be joined by my good friend Adam Keys of the Arsenal Therapy. Ad, welcome back to the firm. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I feel bittersweet. I'm really pleased that the Premier League season is here. I'm very happy with the performance over the weekend, but I'm a little bit sad about the prospect of losing Gabriel Martinelli, which is, of course, what we're going to talk about. A warm welcome to all of our channel members, Patreon members, and, of course, those of you waiting so patiently in the chat. I've had some really nice feedback about the show that I did with James on Sunday. The flow worked a lot better to not interrupt with some of the comments, but I'll bring them up on screen as much as I can. If you're dying to say something, of course, or if I notice something that's relevant to the conversation, of course I will shout you out, and of course all super chats featured. Ad, the first weekend of the new Barclays season is over. What have you made of it all?
Good. It's nice to be back. We started with a win. To be honest, I haven't watched much other football. I've had a really busy weekend, so I'll be honest, I'm gutted with Morgan Rogers scored today. I saw the goal. We did a show in June, maybe one in July as well. You know how much I wanted this player at Arsenal, so I'm gutted to see him in a blue shirt. And I can live with the transfer fee. I hear all of that, but I wanted him at Arsenal, and I'm gutted to see him playing for Chelsea. But beyond that, I'm very happy with us. I thought Solis looked great on Friday night, and the whole team, Calafiori, looks ready to go again, and everyone else just looks sharp. And Saka, by the way, he looks back. Ben White, bronze god, ready to go. So yeah, very exciting times.
It is exciting times, and we've done the match reaction video on this channel. We've talked about the weekend's action with James last night, and I've got to say, really pleased with everything that I've seen from Arsenal. The application, the fitness levels, the familiarity between the players and the new players embedding in. Christos Solis, like you say, shining star with the most eye-catching performance on Friday. And of course, the weekend results that followed: Manchester United losing, Spurs losing, City had to leave it late before they overcame Bournemouth, at home. And tonight, Chelsea winning in the West London derby. Xabi Alonso's men are up and running as well. Just in case anybody wants to catch that is, of course, out on the channel feed. James and I are going to start doing a regular Sunday night show, the Sunday Roast, where we look back at all of the key talking points of the Premier League. It's out there on the channel feed. Do check it out. Thanks, everybody, for all of your kind comments on the show so far. The breaking story today, then, Ad, is the story that Gabriel Martinelli is close to an Arsenal exit. David Ornstein breaking the story earlier today. Al Hilal are poised to sign Gabby Martinelli from Arsenal. There's no agreement yet, but talks are ongoing between clubs, so club-to-club contact for the 25-year-old winger. Arsenal wants £60 million, and the Brazilian international is open to a move, having turned down Galatasaray in Turkey earlier this month. Fabrizio Romano, just earlier this afternoon, Al Hilal are getting closer to Gabriel Martinelli deal after club-to-club talks with Arsenal are now at final stages. The fee will be around 50 to 55 million pounds, and Arsenal prepared to accept and sell him. Talks on personal terms ongoing, although I've heard that he's being offered, and he's agreed, 20 million euros a year tax-free. That is equivalent to a £400,000 a week contract offer here in the UK, and he is, of course, set to make his decision soon. These numbers straight off socials. And how is this move, this link, this speculation, this potential exit grabbing you straight away?
Look, I think it's time to move Martinelli on, but that doesn't change the journey we've been on with him. I put a tweet out earlier saying that Martinelli was one of those players that changed the trajectory of the club. He came in with Saka, Kieran Tierney as well, I would put in that group as someone who, when times were really tough, really fought for the club. Granit Xhaka did it as well. He fought his way back in. And then we got new faces like Gabriel, Thomas Partey with a big impact on that. But there were a group of players that really made us dream. And Martinelli was one of those. And if you look at the 21-22 season, he was great that year. Then 22-23, 15 non-penalty goals in the Premier League. The teams that he scored against that year as well, it was big goals, big games. 3-24, he got the goal against City, our first win against them for 8 or 9 years at that point. It was a huge goal. And even last season, he didn't have his best year, but he still got 10 goals. And he scored against Bayern, scored against Atletico, got the equaliser against City, which was a crucial goal in the opening stages of the season. And look, he got the winner in Bilbao. He did have big moments. The assist for Havertz against Sporting, all of those moments were big contributions. And I think it's a weird one because I think for everyone, he probably need to change. Arsenal need to change. But I'm not celebrating this sale. I think the fee's good, but it's like, let's see what comes back next. There's a bit of concern there as well. Like, what happens if we sell Martinelli? We all celebrate, oh, this is a good sale. We moved Martinelli on, but that has to lead to an improvement. And it's still up in the air right now, but I'll be sad to see him go. I'm very fond of Martinelli. And even in the Como game, he was still grafting and running and chasing and trying to prove his worth. You can tell he loves the club.
You can. And, everything that you talk about in terms of his effort and his connection with the club and the supporters is spot on, Ad. This is a player that I'm really fond of. And there's part of me that really wants Arsenal to keep him and to see him flourish. And I want him to get back to those numbers that he did back in 23, 24 and 24, 25. I'll bring them up on the screen in just a second. And everybody loves a success story about an 18-year-old boy coming in from a different country. He was so young and sort of, innocent and new to this country, new to the league, new to the club. And we took a liking to him straight away. And, he was destined, I think, for the under-21s originally, but he was thrust straight into the team and he's become a fan favourite, if you like, over the years. And here we are, 25 years of age, and we're talking about moving him on. And it's very bittersweet, I have to say. I also understand that there are fans in the fan base who just want to gamble. They just want a change because we've had 7-ish years of him and we know what he's about, but there's potentially a chance to do a little bit more. Thanks for the super chat. I'll come to that in just a second. You will absolutely be featured, but just bear with me. I want to bring up the stats. And the question here is stick or twist. And I want to get your thoughts, Ad, as to whether you think we should sell him. Let's talk about replacements in a bit, but is his time up? Is his shelf life done at Arsenal Football Club? And sorry to give everybody the eye test, but I'll just go through some of these stats. This courtesy of PremierLeague.com. In the 2021 season, he had 3 GNA in 14 appearances, 14 starts that year. Obviously very young as a 19-year-old boy. 21-22, 12 GNA in 29 starts. 22-23, 20 GNA in 36 starts. That's his most outstanding season. 23-24, 10 GNA in 35. 24-25, 12 goals and assists in 33. And of course, last season, just the 1 Premier League goal and 4 assists, although he did return 9 goals in the Champions League. What's your stance on him? Whether we can buy someone or not, whether we can, go out and get some of the names that we've been linked in or not. Are you at the end of your sort of patience? Sounds like a really strong word, but do you think his time, do you think his, his sort of course has run at Arsenal?
Yeah, I think it's time for a change. I think Martinelli has been found out. He's predictable and he hasn't been able to add the layers that we hoped. So I also have this lingering feeling that Arteta hasn't got the best out of Martinelli. I think the conditions for him haven't been as favorable as maybe some other players. But then there's the other side of me that thinks Martinelli sticks to the touchline a lot. He gives us a lot of width and he really hugs it. And we often blame Arteta for that. But you look at Trossard last season, repeatedly popping up on the right-hand side, moving across the pitch, moving into the centre, moving in behind, and not always receiving on the touchline where he had players to beat. Then I watch Solis come into the team. We see him popping up on the right-hand side. We see him popping up in the centre. We see him popping up in these other areas. And I would be very, very loath to believe that Arteta is saying, all the other wingers can go where they want, but Gabby, you stay on the touchline. So there are things that I just don't think his game has evolved. I think Granit Xhaka was maybe a good guide for him and helped coach him a bit on the pitch. And I think maybe that's the part that was overlooked, not just his passing. Obviously, Zinchenko was the other one, great passer, getting that ball into him quickly. But our style of football was more open. and it was more end to end and did suit his transitional qualities a lot more. But then you look at his numbers in the preceding seasons, they're not good. There's no way to gloss that up. And it's not like he's creating a lot of chances on top of that. He's beating his man, causing havoc against low blocks, giving us continuous transitional threat. Those bits aren't quite there, but he has produced big moments. So this is why I think it's time to move him on, and it is time for something fresh and something new. And I sometimes I think just having someone new come in, especially in the wide areas, it just gives teams that bit different to think about. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm the same with you. In an ideal world, I would love him to succeed. I would also love to have seen him as a nine more, because I watched him at Anfield in the end of 2025. He scored in that game, played as a nine, and he had a great game. It's one of those where could he have done more in that position? And maybe he does evolve into that role. But I always saw kind of Luis Suarez type instinctive qualities to his game. And a lot of that has just disappeared over the years. But I do think it's time. It's time, but that also puts the pressure on Arsenal to go and get the right man in.
I think as a fan base, we have to get used to the idea of losing players that we've become close to. I've said this for maybe a
Yeah.
year or two now. Cinnamon Swell, welcome to the show, says one of the nicest guys in football is Gabriel Martinelli. Unless, of course, you're talking about Adam, of course, our own Adam Keys here, and I'm sure he is.
Or Faisal Khan.
Or maybe who knows? But no, the point here is that we've cobbled together such a squad of really likable boys, men, and we've grown this sort of sentimental attachment to them, the journey that we've been on. And so it's always hard, the heartstrings do pull, and I'm not cold enough to kind of be sat here tonight saying that, we just got to move him on. The return's got to be better. Like, I spent years following his development, watching his games, watching his highs, and trying to back him during those devastating lows and those barren spells. And I feel where we've got to now with Gabby Martinelli is that everybody knows how he plays. He's quite predictable. He's not the best 1v1. He's not the most effective in those deep blocks. I still have a curiosity to see what he would be like at number 9, but I think the road has come to an end. And I wish him only the very best, of course, if the deal does go through. Saudi Arabia, it's not going to be easy for him. He's just got married. It's moving to a whole new continent, whole new culture, resetting up with your new wife. And it's a big move for a very young man. Of course, he gave us a very big move when he was 18 and he came to London from Brazil. So very interesting. I want to get your thoughts on the fee as well, because DJ Ash just a minute ago saying that we've got a 15 to 20% sell-on clause going to his previous club. But let me just come to the super chat very quickly. Thank you, Matt. So very generous of you. Really appreciate the support for the channel. It goes a very long way. He says, as many people would complain about re-signing him as selling him, might be the best time to sell. Glad he won the league before he left. And of course, he's hoping that that this story is true. That's a really important point. The fact that he has won the league and sort of seen this project out, because the writing was almost on the wall. Do you remember this post that he posted at the end of the season?
Yeah.
And now the stories are coming out that Arteta's kind of talked to him about, not being part of this squad. But I don't want to read it word for word, but I'll kind of just read most of it. Martinelli, this was his tweet, ladies and gents, at the end of the season. After almost 7 years at this club, it's hard to put into words what this moment means to me. I arrived at this club when I was 18 years old, far from home, barely speaking the language, trying to adapt to a completely new culture, new life, chasing a dream that felt so big at the time. I didn't know exactly what the future would hold, but I knew I wanted to give everything for this club. We didn't just build a team, we built a family, an identity, and something that fans could believe in again. To see this club back where it belongs is one of my proudest moments of my career. I want to thank my family, thank everyone at the club, the staff, my teammates, every person working behind the scenes. Most importantly, thank you to the fans. Your support, patience, love throughout these years never went unnoticed. You stayed with us through the difficult moments, and this title belongs to you as much as it belongs to anyone else. The club changed my life. I will always be grateful for the privilege of wearing this shirt. I mean, it's a really wholesome and beautiful sort of message, and one that kind of smells of, okay, maybe he knew. Maybe there were conversations going on in the run up to the end of the season to say, look, if you get a chance, if we get a chance to move you on to a different club and a different continent, different culture, all that sort of stuff, maybe that's it. And it's almost the perfect farewell message. So yeah, it's going to be very sad to see him go. And the fee, £60 million, £55 million, depending on who you believe and sort of who you follow on social. What do you make of that, Ad?
The fee's fine. I think if Chelsea were selling him to Saudi, they got 100 million. But for us, I think that's a good fee. He's got a year left on his deal. He's got the option of an extra year, which Arsenal would have to activate. And by activating it, may lead to him saying, I'm not going anywhere. So Arsenal are very much stuck with this deal in the sense that it's either renew at 10 million a year and give him those 2 years, which he wants to stay at Arsenal. We've bemoaned players who have wanted to go and wanted to leave us and wanted to join rivals and move to Spain, whatever it is. Martinelli is a top player. He hasn't hit the levels that we expected of, but that's because we're Premier League champions and in Champions League final. That's the level at Arsenal right now. This player has given us everything. And I think by triggering that extension, it would have made him stay for at least another year. And that's clearly not what we want or what maybe we can do financially. That's the other thing that I think we have to be aware of. So, yeah, for 55 million for me, one of the things I was saying to some people earlier is if you can get 55 million and build a relationship with one of the Saudi teams, I would rather do that than hold out for 60, for example, and then potentially going to Chelsea and saying, you know what, give us Pedro Neto because it's easy and you still get the fee, but you build a relationship that you can sell to those clubs in future.
Maybe this is the start. Ad, could I just ask you to lower your camera so I can see more of your face because these comments are just temporarily covering you? Indy says that I'm very gutted that Martinelli is leaving. I'm aware that he's reached a natural conclusion for the player, but it feels like a friend is leaving the team, and I feel dejected about that. And I do want to pull up quite a negative comment. Jake, look, I don't normally do this, but please get rid of this bum. This sort of comment really irks me. I find it quite jarring because I really appreciate you commenting and watching the show. But like, these guys are human beings, they're professional footballers, this is their life. Gabby Martinelli sacrificed a lot to move to Arsenal. I know he's well paid. These guys are multimillionaires, we get all of that, but they still are real people, real feelings. They've contributed a massive amount of effort for Arsenal Football Club, and just because he's not quite hitting the heights that maybe we all expected him to, doesn't mean that we should be labeling players like this, man. That's just how I feel. I'm really sorry to call you out, Jake. I hope it doesn't put you off, Latte Firm. But there we are. I think it's important that I say that. Reggie, thank you so much for your donation to the channel. He says it will be so hard to see Martinelli leave. However, how we've grown as a club in recent years, it means that we will see even more players like him leave. I mean, that was my point, Reggie and Ad, about you grow to like a group of players, and we've got such a good academy that there are other youngsters coming through, and we're going to have to make some difficult decisions. Like, our squad is so stacked. The next window, we're probably looking at selling, one or two first. I mean, the day Ben White goes, the day the skipper goes, the day, dare I say, another academy player goes, it's going to be heartbreaking stuff. MMHCC, welcome to the show. Thank you also for your donation. Says, if Martinelli is as good as you think, why are the only clubs in him for Galatasaray and Al Hilal? Well, I have to say, this has been on my mind, Dad. I look at the players that are being signed this summer, and I've just seen a story about Cody Gakpo going to Manchester City for potentially £90 million, which is absurd. But why are no English clubs interested in Gabby Martinelli? Is it because he's on such a high salary and he's already in London and maybe they're sniffing around for a potential free deal in a year's time? Or why is it just Turkey? Why is it just Saudi?
I don't know why clubs aren't interested in him, but I do think the salary has an impact. So to put it into context, some Newcastle fans said to me, would Arsenal sell Martinelli to Newcastle? And I said yes. And they said, what wage is he on? And I said 180. And they said that's what Bruno was on. And Bruno was their highest earner by quite some distance. And one of the things some of them were worried about was if Bruno got another deal, so 180 to like 120 is a big gap anyway. But say Bruno got 220, 250, they were saying it completely pulls them away from the rest of the squad. So if Martinelli was to go to, say, Newcastle, for example, where I think he would do very well, he would be their top earner. And if you're asking a club to spend 50, 55, 60 million plus make him their top earner, that is quite the ask. And I think clubs are more conscious of wages than transfer fees. Now, you can make transfer fees back if the wages are low. If a player's on a high wage, it can be very difficult to shift them. And we've seen that at Arsenal. We've seen it with when Aubameyang's wage went sky high. We saw it with Ozil's wage. All these players, when they were on big, big money, and even some of our lesser players who were on more money than they deserved to be on, we couldn't shift them. And it led to us paying players off. It led to us taking lower transfer fees. And I think that is part of the issue. The other thing that I think a lot of fans aren't quite willing to discuss is that Arsenal don't have good relationships with clubs. We annoy a lot of teams. There are certain clubs within the league that we seem to get on well with, but there's plenty that we've had fractured relationships with. We started building a relationship with Brighton, bought Ben White, bought Trossard, then wind them up over the Caicedo deal. We did it with Villa over the Douglas Luiz deal. Then we've had run-ins with them over kind of PSR and so on. The relations there aren't good. We've had long-term issues with Newcastle, and we've kind of forced Bruno out of the club. So you look at the relations across the league, we're not in a position of strength. Chelsea, by contrast, City, by contrast, seem to be great at building those relations. And I do wonder if that feeds into our inability to loan players as well. Because if you look at how Chelsea and City manage their loan system, I wonder if clubs are more willing to pay that extra 5 million if you're Crystal Palace and you think, you know what, we might get a Champong on loan. We might get in the way that they got Gallagher, or other players have come through. Colwell when he went to Brighton, for example. All of these moves kind of help build the relationships, and I think it's an area that we need to improve on a lot. And Berta has got good relations in Turkey. No surprise that's where the first offer came from. So part of it with this stuff isn't just the player's agent finding them the move, especially when the player doesn't want to go. It's about the club actively finding the right move for them. And that's something I think we need to get better at, because we can't just sit here every season and say Arsenal are bad at selling, but also ignore that you have to go and find a buyer. You can't just rely on someone knocking on your door and saying, we'll give you this.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And your point about relationships with other clubs, Ad, is a really salient one. And I feel that Arsenal get a lot of negative press because we're trying to do things the right way, and we are the most hated club, obviously, in England. But Berta, or the other powers that be, we've always sort of struggled with selling players, and maybe it's a relationship piece. Just on the subject of relationships, I mean, what do we do now? Here are some of the options that we've been linked with all throughout the summer. Mika Gott's obviously assigned for PSG, so he's no longer available. Iliman Ndiaye from Everton, Bradley Barcola, who hasn't actually moved to Liverpool just yet, subject of a 130, 140 million pound sort of move. Rafael Leao, still at Milan. Kenan Yildiz, who's apparently just picked up a 2-month injury now, so you would suspect that he is off the list. Nico Williams, who just seems to flirt with Arsenal, or the journalists and the media kind of tend to link him with Arsenal year on year. And of course, Julian Alvarez, who was booed by his own fans in Madrid last night, escorted off the pitch to try to, cool things down, simmer things down in the stadium. I believe lots of people have been talking about it in the chat that Hand of Arsenal has just retweeted a post that Sami Mokbel had put out regarding Julian Alvarez, and lots of people are just wondering, who are we going to get on the left? As Atlas says, with Yildiz and Krupi both injured, who's left? Nusa, Barcola, Ndiaye? I mean, what do you think we should do? And the reason why I asked this question for you, Ad, is because there is a risk that we buy someone who's maybe not perfect for us, and then someone who is perfect for us becomes available, let's say in January or next summer. Do you keep your powder dry? Can we afford to take a risk? Is there someone on this page that is screaming out at you as the answer, the solution for Arsenal?
I like every player on this list, and I have doubts about every player on this list. So
wow, okay.
So yeah, I also think there's a big reason why Bradley Barcola is not wearing a red shirt just yet, and that's because Liverpool are also thinking that his price tag is absurd. I wouldn't be surprised if we came in and hijacked that deal, and if we were able to sell Jesus for, say we got 15 million. I don't think we will, but say we did. we've sell Martinelli for 50 after the sell on clause. Then we sell someone else, say Ethan Waneri or someone like that, and we do have a bit more maneuverability with our finances. Maybe an overpay for someone like Barcola becomes a bit more appetizing to the club. But a lot of that depends on outgoings for me and wages being freed up. Then I look at some of the other players. Julian Alvarez is the one that I think is the most obvious level raiser for us. But I don't know about you, but one of the things that does concern me here is it feels for this move to really fit, Gyökeres has to leave. He has to go the other way, partly for financial reasons, but also because Julian Alvarez primarily plays in the center of the park as a false nine, as a second striker, even in the 10 role. And he is someone that drifts, has a lot of freedom, will move all around, makes the team very fluid, can pick it up and shoot from distance. But he is someone that will operate centrally. That will give you Havertz, Alvarez, and Gyökeres in that zone. It doesn't address the left. It still leaves us with the problem we had coming into the window. And I think if you've just sold Martinelli and you've sold Gyökeres and you've sold Gabriel Jesus, who just needs to go, you've suddenly got this need to buy two players. So that's the issue I see with buying Alvarez. And then there's the other big issue, which is he might not want to join Arsenal. So Hand of Arsenal, the article he has retweeted, does hint that he hasn't shown much of an indication that he's willing to join Arsenal, but a move to Arsenal appears to be his only option. And when you're talking a club record fee, I am not that much in love with it. I think he's a professional. He will do well. But I do worry what happens in 12, 24, 36 months whenever the same thing happens. If he came for 3 years, won it all, and went to Barca, fine. But if it's this time next year, I have doubts. Ndai, great dribbler, scores goals, wins a lot of duels, works hard. He's someone that I would be higher on than some of the others on this list. I think he cost a good bit, but you know what you're getting. Prem proven, he's a late bloomer. He's definitely going to be really hungry if he got that kind of move. And he would raise the technical level on that side as well. So you'd have him, Solis, Havertz, just a lot of good ball players in the team suddenly. And I think then you can carry a Gyökeres who isn't as good on the ball because you've got better players around him. But yeah, part of me does think, I don't know about you here, but imagine you got Leao for 30 mil. Do you just roll the dice on him?
Roll the dice. It's such a big gamble to take because you have to think about what's right for the team, the chemistry, the dynamics in the squad, and all that sort of stuff. Do you roll the dice on someone who would command a big wage? Maybe. I mean, someone just mentioned that Reece Nelson leaving for West Ham. By the way, that takes £100,000 off the books. What were you going to say?
I'm going to say, well, do you know what his wage? I'm just Googling what his wages are as we're talking.
Google that for me, just as I sort of put this to bed as well. Yeah, for the late joiners, Mika Götze, I know he's gone to PSG. I mentioned that at the very start of this slide. I just want to come back to you on Julian Alvarez. Obviously a fine player. He is, putting himself out for Barcelona, and he's fallen out of love now with Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone's been critical. The fans are booing him. I can't see him reconciling that, and I think he will leave. But I don't think he solves our left-sided problem. He's an amazing player. It would be a great player to have in addition to Havertz, Sandor, Gyökeres, if we can get rid of, let's say, Jesus and Reece Nelson. Of course, I'd love to have him in the squad. But I don't think Arsenal can afford, to go into this season trying to go back-to-back and to go one step further in the Champions League with just Christos Solis as our established left-sided player. I mean, people talk about Eze. Well, he can play left wing. I know he can play it. Julian Alvarez could be played there. Victor Gyökeres could probably be stuck outside on the left-hand side, but it doesn't mean it's going to work. You need someone who knows that role inside out, who's got the technical ability to be on par with the rest of the team and the technical ability to take us that one step further. And we know we're going to come up, against these low stubborn blocks, which is what we're, really killing Martinelli for, because he just struggled so much. And so I feel that we have to do something, and I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I like all of these players on screen for different reasons. I'm not sure any of these guys are going to guarantee a better return than Gabby Martinelli has. We've just been through his return on the stats a couple of slides ago. Iliman Ndiaye, hopefully I've pronounced his name right. I mean, he played half his time on the right, half his time on the left. There is a compilation going around of him, and he looks very Alex Hleb-like. Technically very, very good. Not sure he's a killer. Not sure Solis is a killer, and you need that sort of Saka regen on the left-hand side. Have you found what you were looking for?
Yeah, so he's on around 180,000 euro per week. So you're talking 150, 160,000 pounds. And given that he is desperate for a move away from Milan, they want to sell. I don't think you need to give him an increase on that wage. You could probably get him on it. It is a roll of the dice. He's got moments in his locker, and there would be a reason you're paying 30 million for him instead of paying 60, 70, 80, 90 that was being quoted a couple of years ago. He's also supposed to be a good character. From speaking to some people who know a lot more about him than I do, the reports are generally good. He has got a habit of walking on the pitch, not working hard enough. I do wonder if part of that's environment, though. If you're in an environment where you can get away with that, and it's not in your natural instincts to work hard, I think you will fall into that habit more often than not. But if you've got Declan Rice and all the other players at Arsenal around you, I do think that you suddenly the effort increases, and if it doesn't, the players hold you accountable. It won't be Arteta shouting at you. It'll be Martin Odegaard. It'll be Declan Rice, and it'll be multiple other players. Lewis Skelly will give you an earful as well. So, but yeah, in Dye, he is an interesting one because Everton are not a good side, and he got 6 goals last year. He got 9 the year before. So he can score goals in the league. He would be very, very good at dribbling through low blocks and creating. But yeah, Leao better than Martinelli. I think they've got very different qualities. Martinelli will give you continuous, very disciplined hard work. Leao, by contrast, will give you big, big moments.
Here's the final question, and thank you again for the super chat from Desk Chair. What a great username. Do you see a world in which no attacker is bought? So if Gabby Martinelli is sold, and it's just Solis with maybe Ezra out on the left-hand side. I did say Gyökeres tongue-in-cheek, please, ladies and gents. Don't quote me on that. Can you see us going into the rest of the season or the first half of the season without actually having more depth than that?
I can. It scares me.
No, it's very scary.
You know something? I had this conversation with a mate of mine earlier on, and he said that if Martinelli's going, we have to have something lined up. And I just don't think you can get rid of Trossard and Martinelli in one window and not have something lined up. So that would be gross negligence by the club. It does worry me that we might not sign anyone. I mean, there is still Krupi out there, and I know he's injured, but I would buy him now. He's got a metatarsal injury. It's a straightforward. He will be back by late October, November. I would gamble, get him now, and have him in the squad so that he's ready in full form by January. But I don't think Arsenal would.
Can you hear me all right? I just kicked my mic cable in anger. Alex, be nice. I welcome any contributions to the channel. It really does go a long way because I refuse to work with betting companies. Those of you that have been following for a long time will know that. By the way, there are hundreds of you watching live on YouTube right now. If you're enjoying this content and you're new around here, well, where have you been? Subscribe right now. We're so close to 30,000 subs. So close. It'll be a massive milestone. And of course, drop a like on the video. Do I see a situation where we don't sign anyone? And to your point about Krupi, I don't think Krupi solves our left-sided problem.
No, he does. He absolutely doesn't.
He's another shiny toy
I just love him. And it's everything that I listened about Alvarez issues. Krupi brings the same.
Quite exactly. I mean, lots of people would take Krupi, of course, and it would be a very sensible thing to do. He's currently injured. He's had a fantastic breakout season last year. Um, I think we've got to wait until we move on Jesus or see him go, because it's 275 grand a week, and it's just another player that that sort of it occupies a squad space. I think it would be dangerous for Arsenal. This is going back to Desk Chair 321. It would be dangerous for Arsenal to not have an alternative. And I think as much as the sell-on fee for Martinelli is pure profit, and as good as that would be for us, 55, 60 million, I'd rather we didn't sell him if it meant we weren't going to get anyone else. But the way that Arsenal pursued Morgan Rogers, Vinicius Jr., maybe one or two others, I'm convinced there's got to be someone. There has to be someone. There's still, what, 10 days to go, 9 days to go in this window. Berta's got to get active. I'm sure he's talking to people. The one that I would keep an eye on is Bradley Barcola. I think I appreciate what you said about the fee, and maybe Liverpool are just sort of biding their time. But I think AFC Camden tweeted recently saying that Barcola is in love with the idea of moving to London, living in London, and we've got that French heritage on the left-hand side. And Barcola, for me, whilst he's no guarantee of an improvement, he's fast. He's played at a big club. He's won everything you can win for his club. And he's a young, very exciting prospect. And that speed is something that I would quite like to see.
Yeah, I think he's the one that I think if you sell a couple of players, that overpay becomes a bit more appetizing. And I think if you got it down, maybe the club are looking at Liverpool and thinking, if you can get that price down, we can come in and hijack the move. We could go in, and if Liverpool got it down to, say, 110 million, which is still a big overpay, suddenly Arsenal swooped in with 115 and paid it, and you're looking at, it's already a big overpay. It's just, the market is so crazy. I don't know what it would take to get a player like Barcola. Given where PSG have set their stall out, how much can you bring them down? And Harry and I did a show kind of before everything kicked off in the window, probably 8 weeks ago. And we were talking about Rodgers, talking about Barcola. And at the time, I said I thought Barcola would cost 100 million euros. And he nearly kicked me off the stream. He was like, that's ridiculous, crazy fee. And it did seem crazy at the time. But then Elliot Anderson, Morgan Rogers, Tonali, so on. And this is where we're at right now. So what would you pay for Barcola out of interest?
Oh, it's a great question. 90 to 100 feels right. But then you know what? And I'll close on this. A house is worth whatever you're willing to pay it for. And it's as simple as that. Pay for it, sorry. If you need something and you need insurance and you need depth and you need options, you just got to bite the bullet, mate. I think we're going to leave it there. I think we're going to leave it there. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we've done with Edric Konsa. It's insurance. It's exactly, we're getting exactly what we paid for.
Yeah.
And we're protecting someone. By contrast, the attacker's not just insurance, it is the potential to raise the roof.
Oh, I like that, Ad. I like that. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Ad. Really, really appreciate all of your insight as always. Thanks to everybody watching, Patreon members, channel members. You will have ad-free access to the show straight away. And of course, if you're listening on audio platforms like Apple and Spotify, thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a very kind message and give us a good rating as well. So you can find us on Apple and Spotify straight away. If anybody wants to follow Adam, he is available at AdamKeys_. He's on all socials, and he is the host of the Arsenal Therapy. I will be back tomorrow with some other sort of topic or content. So look after yourselves, rest up well, and let's see what happens. Gabriel Martinelli, once a gunner, always a gunner, maybe on his way out of Arsenal. Take care. Bye for now.